Tune in to the Denver Foos podcast.
Denver Foos all day, bro. Follow them from LA to Denver. Let's do this, baby.
Shout out to my boys, Denver Foos. Go by Tony Loya.
Shout out to Denver, man. The Mile High City. You know what time it is.
What's up? It's Mariah the Scientist, and I just want to shout out Denver Foos. I'm here with such a baddie. Look at her. Oh, my God.
Hey, what's happening, y'all? Shout out Denver Foos.
I want to give a huge shout out to my buddies there at Denver Foos.
Shout out Denver Foos. I appreciate y'all.
Shout out Denver Foos. We love you, Denver Foos.
Denver Foos. What it do? It's your boy Chingo Bling. Right now, you tuning in to the Denver Foos. Shout out to Denver Foos, baby.
Denver Foos, wherever you find your videos, wherever you get your podcasts, go follow Denver Foos and enjoy.
Hey, let's go, Denver Foos.
Denver Foos, IG, follow us, man. Follow us, subscribe, like us, YouTube.
Shout out to Denver Foos. Good to see you.
The Denver Foos.
Yeah. Shout out to Denver Foos. You know, represent for the motherfucking city.
Shout out Denver Foos.
What's up, it's your boy Concrete right here with Denver Foos, and all you got to do right now, Perito, is hit that follow, hit that like, hit that share button, share all the content, let them know where it's at. Denver Foos, your boy Concrete. We in here, Perito, mile high.
Denver Foos.
Name's Daniel Jumba Garcia. Shout out to Denver Foos, one of the best.
Shout out Denver Foos.
Shout out to Denver Foos.
Shout out Denver Foos, North Side, baby. It's all about the North Side.
Hey, shout out Denver Fools. That's Emmanuel Sanders, legit people over here.
What's cracking, homeboy? Denver Foos. Denver Foos, homeboy. And it's your boy Ken Flores. Shout out to the homies at Denver Foos.
Denver Foo. You guys are the best. Shout out to Denver Foos. Shout out to Denver Foos.
Denver Foos on IG. Come get in touch with the plug. They always got their finger on the pulse.
Are you a Denver Foo?
Yes, all day, every day, baby.
You want to be on Denver Foos or what, eh?
Denver Foos 303.
Denver Foos, huh?
Follow Denver Foos 303, Instagram, Facebook.
For real, Denver Foos, live and direct. Denver Foos, bro. We from the South Side.
Present. Uniting the city, baby.
Shout out Denver Foos.
Say it, Foos, baby. Denver Foos. Let's go. I'm a Denver Foos. What's up? What up, Denver Foos? What's going on?
Yeah. Denver Foos. Denver Foos in the building. Let's go.
Shout out Denver Foos. I love the Denver Foos. Y'all keep it up. Y'all keep doing your thing.
Yo, Denver Foos. I follow you guys up.
I'm Denver Foos here reporting from Denver, Colorado. From Chicago, but I think I'm a Colorado fan now.
You're a Denver Foo now.
Now I am.
Shout out to the Denver Foos. What's up, Denver Foos? Denver Foos. Hey, man. Danny.
Take one, Denver Foos.
Hey, shout out to Denver Foos. I noticed y'all right away. Y'all putting it down, you know, for all the gente.
Shout out to Denver Foos. You locked in, man. Stay tuned to what they got going on. One love.
I here chilling with the Denver Foos. You already know how we do it. Much love.
It's your boy DJ Sarnes Carter. Denver Foos, we in the motherfucking building.
Check. What's up, everybody? Welcome to the Denver Foos podcast here live at the Denver Foos Barbershop located on 1400 South Federal Boulevard. We have a very special show for you guys today, and it's presented to you by La Fiesta Mexican Restaurant. You can go visit La Fiesta Mexican Restaurant at 2340 Champa Street in Denver, Colorado. We're going to be having a watch party this Saturday for the Denver Nuggets Game 4. We take on the LA Clippers. So you know you want to come in and enjoy some bomb chili rellenos. And it's going to be a time. We're going to have giveaways. There's going to be raffle prizes. And there's going to be a few special guests in there. So make sure you guys come and visit La Fiesta this Saturday, 2340 Champa Street. And we have a very special guest, two special guests, but we have our main special guest. Well, I want to introduce everybody to my sister, V Morris. It's V Morris.
Hey, what's up, everybody? I'm so happy to be here. I'm super honored. This is a very special show, so thank you, Benny.
Yeah, we got Abe, the president. He's just doing a little camera work. He'll be joining us here soon. What up? And I want to introduce Kali.
Hi.
How you doing today?
I'm good.
She's an author, best-selling author. You've written books, and you're from Colorado.
Yes, born and raised Denver. My family's been here. I think it's 6 generations. Like, I have to start counting and going back.
Right. Yeah, no, we actually, if everyone's like, how did they get together? Because, I mean, a lot of people don't realize our show, it's all produced independently. Seriously, podcast, barbershop, everything. There's no big people behind us. And we just happen God, the ancestors just kind of bless us, and we happen to come across remarkable people through all our different paths and brings us here today. And we actually met at Foot Locker.
Yeah. Yeah.
Which was kind of a cool thing. We were doing a thing with Jamal Murray, and they wanted affluent people. I don't want to say it's just influencers, people that influence the community, influence. And we were there checking it out. What did you think of the Jamal Murray New Balance event at Foot Locker?
Well, it was like, it was crazy because as a writer, you don't get normally invited to like Nuggets meet and greet. So it showed up in my inbox. And my little sister's like, her name's Dylan, and she's a diehard Nuggets fan.
Shout out Dylan.
Yeah, what's up, Dylan? And I said, hey, if you come with me to the Aurora Mall, we get to meet Jamal Murray. And she's like, oh my God, I'm so there. And then my friend is an actress. She was visiting from LA. So this was like just basic every weekend for her. So she didn't really care. But I was like, I'm not allowed to have more than, one person. So I just I sneaked her in, and then we got in, and I got free shoes. And like, as a writer, this has just never happened to me. And I still wear those shoes all the time.
Oh, I know. Me too. I wear all the time those New Balances.
But I was really excited to sit next to you up on the stage. I was like all nervous, and we started talking, and we right away we realized we had a lot of overlap in our histories and our
definitely. Just it's so amazing. Everything that you were saying when we first met, it just resonated with me. All your experiences. We're kind of like the same generation. We're a few years apart. We share a lot of the same experiences growing up in the state of Colorado and in Denver. And I feel like our stories aren't really told or documented, or really, like, a lot of people. There's a lot of mystery. I mean, that's basically why I've started Denver Foos, the platform. I want to document of what's going on in Denver urban culture 2025 and beyond, but also dabble in. I mean, the beginning of the page, we were showing just different Denver Foos per se, not necessarily Hispanic figures, like Blinky the Clown. He's a Denver Foo. John Alway is a Denver Foo, and like, in the urban culture, Foo is like a word of a term of endearment that kind of connects with our people. But we in Denver and in Colorado, we're still a little different than LA or Texas. We still have our own flavor. And in your writings, you have expressed that, right, Vanessa? You said
absolutely, yes. My job this week was to research you and to research the books. I'm not an avid reader. I probably have read one book a month for the past 10 years, and that's a lot for me.
Good, yeah.
Not to knock on my mom and dad, but I don't think I ever saw my dad pick up a novel or a book because he was just working so much and doing, coaching and taking us places and doing all this. My mom did have some romance novels on the side of the bed, so I knew my grandfather read. So I guess I just wanted to start it there, is that our people need to find a little bit more passion in reading and picking up a book and taking yourself to a faraway place. And I guess around pandemic time, I kind of started researching my family, which a lot of people started doing. And I started researching some of the books that I maybe thought that I should have read growing up as a Chicana in Denver. And I didn't. I read all the normal ones. So Bless Me Ultima, great, fantastic book. Yes, everyone should read it because it touches on a lot of different topics that are pushed away. I read House on Mango Street. I was like, okay, yeah, this is a great story too. She's Chicana. This is so cool. She's from Chicago though. And I'm not knocking on those books, but this book, Sabrina and Corina, needs to be read before those. I'm gonna say it right now. It needs to be read in school before those. It needs to be an absolute requirement in reading, because I have never picked up a book myself and felt like I can actually see, feel, hear everything that was going on, because I have had those experiences. Like I said, it wasn't my personal experience, but when you're sitting here and you're describing how a house smelled like pork and green chili, and then when you come home one day and it doesn't smell like that, you're like, oh, it feels good up in this. And it's not a bad thing. It feels like home when you come home to those flavors and scents and smells. But I have never seen this in literature. Like I said, I read books, and I read a lot. The last time I set these people on a book chase was to read the Four Agreements. Uh-huh. This needs to be there. This needs to be right up there with those books. I'm just going to say it right now. I'm extremely passionate. I'm so honored to meet you, because every Denver Foo needs to read this book, period. Everybody in Colorado needs to read this book, period. It just shows a fresh perspective on the world that is coming from Denver that has never been highlighted before. Personally, I've never seen it, and please correct me and enlighten me with other books. But why would you want to talk about your other contemporaries? But I'm sorry to go off on a tangent. That's how much this book really touched me, and it did come out 6 years ago. So I feel super late because I'm always always onto it, or I'm on this thing, or I've read this book and I've read, The Alchemist is amazing. And
well, let me put you on this new book author, but
yeah, she's just like us. She has the same stories. She is talking about Denver. She makes the city of Denver a full-blown character in all her stories.
Yeah.
It's amazing. So,
can you elaborate? I mean, I'm sure I want this to be different. I mean, we don't want to ask you the same questions that everybody asks you, but let's just dabble into a little bit. When did you feel inspired to become a writer? Like how early on, or
Well, first of all, you're gonna make me cry. And we're like 2 seconds in, and I'm like, I just don't ever want to hear about my books.
Yeah.
But yeah, I remember I actually had an epiphany, these sort of moments in an artist's life where they're like, I will write a novel, I will write a book about my family.
Mm-hmm.
So I really struggled in school. I am a high school dropout. Actually, I have a GED, but I did go on to Metro State, and I got a degree in creative writing, and then eventually I did get a master's degree from the University of Wyoming.
Oh, wow.
But I remember, thank you. It was hard road, high school dropout.
No, I mean, I'm not to interrupt, but there's a lot of Denver Foos that go through that same journey.
Same story.
So that's inspirational right there. So keep going.
Well,
I'm sorry.
So in English class in school, I knew that books were the only thing that I loved, because no matter what was going on at home, what kind of chaos I was around, or what kind of violence, honestly, or things I was seeing that were really hard, I could go lock myself in a room or go under the bed and read a book and just be somewhere else. And so I knew from a really early age, books are it. This is what makes me feel better. It helps my depression. It heals me. And then I remember being in college, and I started taking Chicano studies classes, and I started learning about our history and our people. And I remember being at my Auntie Lucy's house at 9th and Galapago, and that's the house that always smelled of green chili and pork, and we would make beans, and I remember having to sort the beans from the rocks, and and I remember sitting in there one day in the living room where she would tell all her stories, because there would always be Turner Classic Movies on, and
oh yeah,
but then she would this reminds me of a story, and then we would hear the same story for the 100th time. But I remember sitting there one day, and I was like, we deserve to be in books.
Yes.
This is messed up that we're not in any books. And I got really angry about that. And I knew no matter what happened to me, all my trials and tribulations in school, I knew that I had to write books. That was my calling. And so that's where it came from, being in that house, in that living room, and just knowing I have to honor my people. I have to put us into literature.
Wow.
It's amazing. It's fantastic.
That's so inspiring. I mean,
beautiful. And it's a human story. It's not just oh, this Chicana from Denver, she just got inspired by grandma in her pork. No, this is a human story right here that are not represented in any form of media.
You touched on a little bit growing up in Denver. Where did you grow up in Denver?
Yeah, so when I was first born, we lived in Capitol Hill. And my parents talk about how they didn't have enough bedrooms, so my sister and I lived in a closet or something that was really big. And I was like, please don't talk about this child abuse stuff. People don't want to hear that. So yeah, we lived down in Capitol Hill, and then we eventually lived on the north side, so 35th and Newton. And I have so many good memories, walking around the north side before it became the Highlands. And then eventually my family moved up to Arvada.
Okay.
And so then we went up there, but we were always visiting my elders down on the west side. One of my grandmas lived in East Denver, so we were going to see her. And my grandpa, he grew up in my great grandma's house. My great grandpa and my grandma, they lived at Benedictine Fountain Park. You know what I'm talking about? It's right over on the edge of downtown. Okay. And they lived in this big Victorian house. So it was kind of I had this cool education and going to all the different sides of Denver by visiting the relatives. And then my own house which like I walked by my own house recently because I'm living up on the north side again. Like we're renting up there, and like don't let me tell you, these people let me know I'm just a renter. But I walked by my old house and I was like, oh, it's so little compared to my memory because in my mind it looms so big.
Yeah, I it's crazy how you're saying all these things about these specific neighborhoods that have shaped you. We have that same thing. Like my grandma lived in the South Side. My other grandma lived in Montbello. We have family in the North Side. We have family on the West Side. Like, so growing up here in Denver in the 90s and early 2000s really shaped us by being in all these different sides. You hear the stories of our elders, like, oh, we were in the North Side, we were here. So like growing up, that's why when Denver Foos, I'm like, we're all from everywhere, bud. Like, it's not like, there are those urban things with the streets and stuff where people are prideful of where they come from. But to me, growing up all around Denver is, I was shaped from all different sides of Denver and the inner city of Denver. So it's very interesting to hear more stories that parallel to our upbringing, and that's awesome. Speaking of the old neighborhoods or whatever, what are some of like your go-to like green chili spots? Because we do like a green chili, we do a green chili crawl, and that's the number one question we always get asked as far as like being Denver Foos, and green chili is so immersed in our culture, and everyone wants to know, especially transplants or new people that are new to green chili, because all green chili is not equal. There's good, there's bad, there's different flavors, there's different textures, there's different ways people make it. But everyone's upbringing shaped for their palate of green chili.
Well, you're asking the wrong person now because I'm like, I can never be happy where I go to eat. So you need to tell me where these spots are, but I'd be like, go down to Alamosa. Just go out of town.
Yeah, exactly. Like somebody's house, right? Or grandma.
But we live by Javier's. So I brought my husband over there and I was like, that's green chili. They're like, our green chili,
Yeah.
So,
it's like ours.
If it's like ours, then it's good. And that's but I would love to know your spots because it's been going out to restaurants has been a struggle for me lately. So.
Oh, okay.
I've been trying to go to some fancy places and I've been having some bad luck.
Well, yesterday on the show we had Nicola from Serbia and our buddy Finn. They do the Joker energy drink.
Oh, okay.
He took him to a Mexican restaurant here, and I asked him if he ever.
Yeah, we took him.
We took him, and he said we took him to Casa Bonita.
Okay. I don't think that's where you should go for good green chili. If you can get off the wait list.
Yeah.
No, I don't think
so. They brought that up. But I'm like, no. He's like, I thought we were going to this fancy restaurant, this world-renowned restaurant, and I thought it was going to be good, and it wasn't that good. And I'm like, oh man, he totally set you up on that one.
Well, I do want to know where you guys are going because it's like I feel like sometimes when I'm in northern New Mexico, I can find food like my family's food, like down in the San Luis Valley, at some of the restaurants. But here in Denver, it's like there's all kinds of different Mexican food. So it's not like I can always find like the kinds of food that we make.
Yeah, no, I mean, my number one answer is always like at home. My mom. My mom will make there's no place I could say. But now La Fiesta, because we have a sponsorship with them.
La Fiesta, let's all go to La Fiesta.
They do have very good. But they do have a really good green chili. They have really good salsa. They even have their salsa sold in stores. But yeah, that's like the number one question, I guess. I'm like, green chili isn't our total identity of us. Well,
I actually have like a funny story about our food. So I was at like a fancy gala in New York City once for one of my books. And there's a chef who takes a book and then he makes the foods of the book.
Oh,
and he was talking me up, and I was like, well, we have the best food. And I was like, and it's going to be really difficult for you to get it right because it's the best food.
Right.
And then he was like, well, I wouldn't say that. He was like, you have some of the best food. And I was like, this is not the right chef to be cooking my food.
No. We need to bring grandma out there.
Yeah, no.
That's cool.
I love it.
That's awesome.
That's exactly the point.
Yep.
Nobody knows how to take us. They don't know because we're so underrepresented, and it's such an untapped market and an untapped thing. that it just gets me so excited because you guys gotta shout this out from the rooftop. This is, like I said, there is a renaissance going on in Denver right now. And people like Benny from Denver Foos and Abe and, Kali here, you guys are the leaders of the movement. It's not like what it used to be anymore because we can't, I'm not saying you can't get stuff done with marches and things like that, but that's what our grandpas and grandmas did. And we're still almost in the same situation, I feel like, personally. So thank you for what you did. You put that thing in writing. It's there forever. And Benny, you too. Same thing. Putting this out there. Putting that information out there. Time stamped. It's going to live on forever now. So just like the green chili in our love for it. It'll never die.
So Sabrina and Corina, that was your first book?
Yeah, so that was my first one. It came out in 2019. It's a collection of short stories. So that was the one I worked on all throughout my 20s. And I actually started that when I was at Metro still.
Okay.
I'm sorry, MSU Denver. I changed the name. So when I was going to school, I actually started, one of the stories is actually set on the Auraria campus.
Okay.
So, but I had the idea for Woman of Light before.
Okay.
But I just didn't, writing a novel is harder, in my opinion, for me than writing short stories. So I had to get better.
Well, you knocked it out of the park with Sabrina and Corina. I was telling the guys, I'm like, this won a National Book Award. And they're just like, and I'm like, it's called the National Book Award because it's so generic. It's been around so long. That's how prestigious this award is. That's incredible. Congratulations on that.
Thank you. Yeah. Yeah, being named a finalist was so the book was when it first came out, I was ignored by the media in New York City and national media. But I wasn't ignored in my home. People were coming to my events and I was getting to meet people who were saying, oh, my family has a similar story. And it was just so moving. And then when it got named a finalist for the National Book Award, it was my life. I was still broke as
Yeah, you could cuss on here.
I was still broke as shit and living in my parents' house. But my book was oh my God, I have to go walk a red carpet now in New York City. And I got to go get a fancy dress. And I brought my parents to New York. My mom hated it. She's not taking elevators. But it changed my life. And it changed the trajectory of what our stories could do. Because suddenly people were listening to me. And it got translated to Japanese, Turkish, Spanish. There's some German. It's just all over the world now. So Italian. So that, it's been incredible because of that award.
I liked to look at some of the reviews online of people just reading it, and I'm like, how are people gonna take this? I already know how I do.
Don't tell me the bad ones.
I don't care. No. I usually don't care what people think, but it's just because we're in this scope right now with the Denver Foos. I'm like, how are people taking this? And they are just refreshed, and it's wow, new stories, new characters, new things. One lady was like, I didn't know the KKK was in Colorado, and I'm like, yeah.
You ever seen Black Klansman? No.
Exactly.
But this is what we need. Like I said, right here, it just felt finally for this first time, someone sees us. Someone actually cared to write it down and take it there. So.
Yeah, you're truly giving a voice to the voiceless that we've been voiceless for so many years. And generations, really, and for our stories to be told.
I get really careful about saying that because it's we all have voices.
Yeah,
you have a voice,
exactly.
so I always want to be careful. I'm not speaking for anybody else. You guys all have your voice, so it's go write your stories too. Don't just make me do this alone.
There you go.
But your grandma had a voice, and the musicians in your family had a voice. Everybody has a voice. And I'm just one of the voices, and I hope that that inspires more, louder voices too. But
definitely,
I always want to be really careful because people are she's taking my voice, and I'm no, I want us to give back and give bigger voices to everybody. But
I that's exactly how I see it, and you're just giving hope for more people to be bold and take the steps to do something like this because it doesn't happen too often, and it should happen a lot more.
Yeah, we should have way more.
We should have way more. What were some obstacles to writing your first book that what were some obstacles that some people maybe not know of? You kind of mentioned you had to go on a red carpet and you were didn't have the finances and you were but to get the book published, was there any obstacles or anything, or maybe even on the other book that people don't realize? because I mean, honestly, I'm like, how do you even begin to even start writing a book? Like, because you had a moment, an epiphany of like, I need to write these stories. Where did you first like start out? Did you start like a pen and a pad, a typewriter, a computer? Like where?
So I would write little stories on my notebook in my room, you know, before I even had a laptop, because I didn't have my first laptop until I was like well into college. Not because it's like it weren't prevalent; they were just really expensive. And the thing I love about writing is that like anyone, as long as you can write and you have a piece of paper and you have something to write with, you can do it. So it's like a really low cost art form. So I started writing in high school and I was reading stories. I was reading lots of books, but I could tell that they were better than I was, you know, like it's like probably like a young athlete, like watching a superstar, like that athlete's better than I am. So I was like, how do I get better?
Right.
And that's when I started like signing up for classes.
Okay.
And I was, I worked at a bookstore, Westside Books in North Denver. I worked there for many, many years. I would surround myself with other writers. My mom herself, she does writing. And so I was always asking for help and support. And I would give my writing to anybody. Like I had this, I knew this woman, she kind of like made fun of me because like an exterminator came to my house once and he was talking about how his great grandma also had to like heat her home with coal. And I was like, my great grandma talked about that. Here's a story I wrote. And I gave it to him. And he like came back and told me how good it was, you know? And like she, like this woman made fun of me. And she's like, you'll just give your writing to anybody. And I was like, that's who I want feedback from. Like just anybody. I want normal people to be able to read my stories and understand what's happening in them. So I was taking classes, but a lot of the obstacles I faced were honestly like entry into the world of New York City publishing. We're out here, we're in Denver. I don't have this, like, I don't know, the industry smarts to know how to find an agent. I couldn't figure out like, how do you even get seen by an editor? And so I ended up getting a master's in creative writing and that helped a little bit, but they would say, we're not focused on the business. We're only focused on the art. And I'm like, I come from a working class family. I got to figure out the business. Like I have to be able to make a living.
Yeah.
And so I was publishing stories for 10 years before Sabrina and Karina came out. And I was taking all kinds of jobs. I had been a teacher. I got fired from a zipline place. I like worked at the bookstore. I worked as an office manager. And that was actually one of the most helpful jobs because now I have all the skills of an office manager for running my own business.
Nice.
Yep.
But I think that was one of the biggest things. Like a lot of writers I meet, they come from money, they come from generational wealth. They can just go and take a trip to another country and say they're going to write a novel for 6 months and their parents pay for it or something.
Mom and dad, write the check.
Yeah, like keep paying my rent. And my parents are like, hey, you can keep doing this for as long as you want. Like, we don't care because we believe in you and you're really talented. But people were starting to get like kind of afraid, you know? I was like, when it came out, I think I was 32. And like, that's ancient in our culture. Like, to not have like a family and a husband.
Oh my
and
gosh.
stuff.
Yeah. Right. Tell me about it. I just turned 35. I hear about it every day.
Yeah. But I do think if you want to get started, the best thing to do is you have to educate yourself. You have to learn about who are people's agents, who are their editors, how do you go in that direction? And then you also really need to focus on how do you make your work the best it can be.
That's awesome. Yeah, no, you're just throwing out gems and a game of, you know, that's uncharted. You know, everyone always tries to portray something like they have it all figured out, or sometimes it could be portrayed that because you're you just push through it all, like myself, like I'm just pushed through everything. I don't have everything figured out. I'm figuring out a lot of things every single day as they come, as the obstacles come. And, you know, it's cool to see people explain that it took a lot, you know, in a society where everyone's showing their highlight reels on social media. You know, there's a lot of time, patience, and work and education that you have to gain in order to get to these positions that people are in. Everything didn't happen overnight. It didn't just, you had to go through all that. You spoke about years of things that you had to do in about 2 minutes, but that's like 10 years of blood, sweat, tears to get to where you're at today and hearing these stories and for you to tell them. And it's a beautiful thing.
Yeah, no, it shows resilience. And a lot of times people like us that come from Denver, we don't give ourselves enough time to grow in the process. And we don't give ourselves enough leeway to say, hey, I tried this, but let me try something else because this didn't really work all the way. And we don't allow ourselves to fail while we're trying it, while other cultures, I'm just going to go do this and I'm just going to go do it. And me personally, I have to have everything perfect. I have to have everything. So it has to be there. Is it a full moon tonight? I'm like, is it, you know what I'm saying? And we don't need to be like that. And like I said, you showed resilience. You showed your work. You knocked it out of the park. Like, yeah, I know it's just your first book, but you put it all in there and it worked.
Well, I will say, like, I'll share something that happened. So I had like this moment and I was like, it's maybe never going to happen for me. Like, I'm maybe never going to get published. I'm never going to have a book. And I remember even like writing down like in like a little notebook and saying, you are still going to write. Like, even if you never get famous, even if you never publish a book, you're going to write and you're going to keep these stories, and you maybe going to keep them for your family. But that's not why you're writing. You're not writing for fame. You're not writing so one day like people can recognize you on the street. You're writing to get these stories out. And then like 2 weeks later, I got a book deal. And so it was sort of like the universe made me accept, like, it might not work. And then it worked. So
Isn't that crazy how like things can be like that? Like, it's just like, and then that hump almost seemed not that hard too, right?
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like, I find us going through stuff like that. Like, you have to just be a little bit more patient, push a little bit more, and then it'll happen. But I got a question for both of you right now. Speaking of our culture and growing up here in Denver, we're around the same age. Yeah. How many Sabrinas did you know growing up?
I know a lot of Sabrina. Sabrina, I have to say it in that way in my head too, because it wasn't just Sabrina, it was Sabrina. What's up, Sabrinas? I know Sabrina Aragon. That one goes right off the top of my head. That girl is awesome. So shout out to Sabrina Aragon. What's up?
I knew a lot, and like there's actually a Sabrina that was like really prominent. So I grew up doing Aztec dancing, and there was a Sabrina in our Aztec dance group, and she was so beautiful. You know, I was like 11 and I was a danzante, but she was like 16 or something, you know.
Golden
like,
Chicana vibes, right?
Yeah. And I was like, oh, one day I'll be that beautiful if I try really hard, you know. So, like, I love that name. And anytime I have a book signing and there's somebody named Sabrina or Karina, they're like, this book's for me. And I'm like, yes, it is, Sabrina. It's for you. So I always love meeting them.
Yeah. I do like that.
Sabrina's.
Yeah.
Oh,
you don't see it as much anymore than the little kids. Yeah.
Jasmine.
Well,
Yeah, bring it back.
No, it's funny because, like you said, going through different places in Denver gave you such a scope of the life in Denver outside. Like I said, Benny touched on it a little bit. We were also blessed in that same sense. We grew up in Highlands Ranch, but when we'd go visit our cousins, we knew that we had it good. And like I said, we lived in one of the smaller houses in Highlands Ranch, but it was like, hey, you know, we are fortunate. We are, you know, there is something that is special about us. Our parents thought enough to do this, and they had the means, and they had enough where we didn't take what we had for granted either.
Yeah.
And we also honored everyone's own specific journey as well, because our cousins, like I said, they'd be, you know, not as fortunate as us, and they can't do some of the things that we did, and they'd look up to us, and we felt like that. So I think that's probably why you guys met up. I think it's the ancestors.
Yeah.
We are the ancestors. We are the like-minded people. You know what I mean?
So some of my ancestors played, like, my uncle Abel was a mariachi trumpeter. Okay. He actually gave me his trumpet when I was like in the 4th grade to play it in school band. And I was like, I'm so honored I have this.
Gosh.
But all the other kids made fun of my case because, you know, my trumpet case was so beat up. But I remember our band leader was this, like, older Chicano man. He's like, wow, let me see that trumpet. So I wonder if our ancestors, like, played.
I'm sure.
Maybe they had beef. you know?
They had a battle of the bands.
Yeah.
Yeah, no, my grandma, they used to play on Larimer, all them bars. The Star Bar.
Watch out for the tramps,
She used to play.
Not the women of the night.
Yeah. The Star Bar, it's actually still there. She used to play there. She used to play at a lot of them places. Yeah, no, it's crazy. And then it's crazy how we've, like, now we're reconnected with La Fiesta, because my other grandparents, they used to go see bands at La Fiesta, and because La Fiesta for so long was like the club or the nightlife place for a lot of our people would go to. I'm outing people. But the owner of this building, she met my mom over there when they were young, like in the 80s, like out, just going out for a night out of dancing. And it's just crazy how like now they're our sponsor and we're doing events over there with them. And it's like a cultivation of just everything of us trying to preserve our culture as far as what Denver is or whatever Denver urban culture is today and the past. So to bring it all together, we're going to be having some more events too, like music events, cultural events. We have a lot coming up in the pipeline, and I'd love to have you be a part of some of those cool cultural things because you're like a role model to me, like just seeing all the work. I'm like, we need more people like you to be shown and to show that there's different ways. We all don't got to be a rapper. We all don't got to be other things. I don't want to diss anybody, but you know, it's just cool to see people like us, especially from Denver, being an author and being a writer.
We need representation in all medias. And hey, if you want to start, books, I don't think they're ever going away. So write down your stories, people. Go talk to your grandmas. Go talk to your tias and your uncles and get those stories and just write them down. Hey, even just record them. That's how my daughter writes her books. She starts with just tell me a story. She gets my phone and just starts talking.
That's awesome.
So we start orally.
That's sometimes what I do. I'm like 3 books in at this point, and I'm still talking to my voice memos. And then I'm like, okay, now I can go and type. So it's the same process. It doesn't matter if you're a child or a professional author.
Yeah. So we touched on Sabrina and Corina. Can you tell us a little bit of Woman of Light and the inspiration behind it?
So Woman of Light is set in like the Denver of the past, so the 1930s. And that's when my great-grandmother Esther, my Auntie Lucy, and my Uncle Abel, and everybody was like young and beautiful, and they would talk about these dances, and they would dress up, and they would sew their own clothes because they were so poor, but they looked amazing. And we have all these gorgeous photos of them. And, you know, they would tell me these stories, and while they had these beautiful lives, they also had lives that were very sad. So they would talk about just people dying and children getting killed and like just terrible things that would happen. But my family never let that like define them. It was always still like, we are survivors. We're still going. We have so many great grandchildren now. Look how big the family is.
Yeah, always seeing the positive in it
or
all.
learn from those stories. Hey, don't be like that one, Hita, because this is what happened. You know what I'm saying?
Lots of warnings.
Yes.
So I wanted to write a novel that talked about that Denver. I was very jealous that other cultures had these like 1930s novels that talks about, frankly, just a lot of white people during the Great Depression or during the like Roaring 20s. So I set out to write their story, and I made it into, you know, this big epic. So it goes back into the days of the Old West too. There's a sharpshooter named Simodicia. There's like a circus owner. Then there's Luce. She's the main character, and she like my Auntie Lucy. She's based on her, but my Auntie Lucy would have like very strong psychic visions. She didn't call them that. She would just say like my Uncle Abel was like a tree trimmer. And like an arborist, I guess is what they're called. And he fell one day at work, and my Auntie Lucy knew she was like doing housework because her whole arm started hurting.
Oh my gosh.
So like she would tell us stories like that. And I knew like I wanted a character who was able to have vision. So Luce is the main character. She's 17. Her brother Diego's a snake charmer, and he gets thrown out of Denver for sleeping with this white girl whose family's like in the Klan. You know, that kind of, story.
Hold on, I think I'm not joking. I think that was our uncle.
It just sounds so interesting and
well, no, I mean,
I just like what's happening right now. I'm excited or something.
I'm like info dump.
No.
Well, yeah, no, that's so amazing. I mean, we go to these history museums, we go and look at these history books, and you don't see stories of those times of representation of us. You know, they think we just got here like yesterday.
Or they ask you, you know, what are you?
Yeah.
Where are your parents from? And I'm like, here, Colorado. They're like, no, like your grandparents. I'm like, Colorado.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
I don't really know.
When you would go to like New York or anywhere else and travel, when people asked you about like your background,
Yeah.
what Like when they say, "Are you Mexican?" What do you usually identify as?
I identify as Chicana, but I'm very mixed. So my
Okay.
dad is white from Nebraska. My great grandpa is from the Philippines. I had a Denver grandmother's Jewish. So like I'm part of like this huge mixture of people, but I identify as Chicana. But I will tell you, like when I go to New York or I go to all these events, like there's like it doesn't matter where I am in the world, somebody be like, my family is originally from New Mexico too. And I'm like, oh my God. I'm in I'm in Mississippi right now, and there's like a New Mexican. Like, so we're all over. I just want to say that. Like we're everywhere. But the other thing it is hard because there's so lack of understanding of who we are. Like there's no common like, oh, I understand that. Like there were people who were blended indigenous and like American and Spanish settlers and French, and then they created a new people and they never left the Southwest. Like there's no common understanding of that.
I mean, even our own people, we don't even understand ourselves sometimes.
You gotta tell the story every time. Like if you want to, but sometimes it's just easier to just be like, oh yeah, I'm Mexican.
Yeah, I'm Mexican.
Or I'm Hispanic. Or as my grandma would say, we're Spanishito.
You're not Mexican. You're Spanish.
They used to say that. I was like,
right. I don't know.
Like, look at his green eyes.
Yeah.
He's Spanish.
And then I'm like going through the family documents. I was like, but everyone's been born on a pueblo.
Yeah.
I was just like, what are you talking about? So, and then they did start. My elders did start coming out and saying they were Native American. Like they were so deeply made to be ashamed and afraid. But you know, when they're all getting toward their deathbeds, they start coming out and saying, yeah, and we are Native. You know, it starts to come out. But I do think that we have to educate each other and we have to get stronger about this identity because it can be lost because it's like some of us, like my family is just so mixed now that if we didn't retain this, like we could disappear. And so that's also what I'm trying to do with my books. It's just make sure just in my one little way, we're not like disappearing. And I know we'll never disappear, but I want to make sure I want to do my part.
Well, yeah, the word Chicano it disappeared for a while. I must admit that. I have 4 children myself, and in the middle of spitting out a bunch of kids, I was at the doctor one time, and this was probably like 2019, and the lady said, what are you, or your race, or whatever, and I said Chicana, and she's like typing, and then she's just like, girl, nobody says that anymore.
Yeah, I've heard that.
And I was like, and she goes, I'm from Texas, so I know what you're talking about.
Like,
she goes,
I'm Mexican American.
but nobody says that anymore. And she wasn't being mean, or she wasn't trying to say it to be like, what are you saying? Or like if it was a Mexican, maybe she would be like, you know what I mean? I'll just write down that you're white.
Yeah.
But
she kind of thought it
so
was
now, like I said, now people are learning about the movement and and how Denver was a huge hub for the movement. San Diego, Denver, you know, Oakland, Chicago, all these places have Chicanos in it and have a strong sense of history, just like ours, just like our perception. But I feel like there was nobody to keep it going. Like I said, it almost disappeared for a while. So now there's a younger generation that are adopting it and taking it, which is fine. That's great. I'm glad to see it because, like I said, I didn't want it to disappear, or I don't want nobody to say that anymore to me. But it's just important for people like you. Like, this is the I Am Joaquin. This is the stuff that you guys are doing now. This is what they tried to do, and it's a call to arms, and it's a call to action. And I'm just so excited for you guys.
Yeah.
I'm excited to be a part of it. I'm excited to be right here by you guys. It's incredible.
I would give a lot of credit to just like the power of the World Wide Web or the internet, where we're also we've always been so connected, but we're more connected now more than ever because you could find more of the people like of your tribe or people
you
that
don't have to listen to the ground anymore.
Yeah. You could have for example, like touching on these stories. So a friend of ours, Jeremy Hahola from 9 News, he does a lot of research on a lot of these stories. Have you ever met him before?
Yeah, I've met him.
He's from New Mexico.
Cool. Yeah, he's from New Mexico, but we all share the same history and lineage, and he's uncovered so many great things. We've actually had him on our show on Mile High Sports. We got to get him here at the Denver Foos Barbershop here soon. And he touches on a lot of this stuff, and it's great because it's just uncovering all these uncoverings, and then you with your stories. It's a beautiful place to live in. You know, like you said, you were jealous of those times of those hearing those stories. But I think right now we live in the best time because we're able to kind of cultivate all this history, this rich history, and all this, and a lot, like you said, people like my uncle. We used to call like our people New Mexicans, and, like because like every word is like Chicano, Mexican, but he's like, no, we're New Mexicans because we're the New Mexicans, and he has his old thing. Rest in peace to him. And so like, but yeah, no, there's always someone like, oh, I'm from the San Luis Valley, I'm from northern New Mexico, like that we are everywhere, and we've been able. I say the power of adaptation is like our superpower, even though we've been assimilated at times, but adaptation is our superpower. We've been able to adapt and just still be here, whether it's our indigenous roots, Spanish roots, whatever. I mean, frown upon, whatever. I mean, we did a great Spanglish podcast. Shout out to the Spanglish podcast. And we touched on a lot of these issues and a lot of these self-identity issues that we find in crisis at all times. And so it was good to hear what you say when people are asking. But I said, when people ask me, what are you? What is your ethnicity? What is your background? It kind of depends on who I'm talking to. Like, if I kind of, I mean, I have a good judgment of character if I know if someone's going to understand, like, what the history is and stuff like that. But I'm interchangeable, I guess. I mean, call that fake or whatever. I don't know. But, it's just like, or it depends on my mood. It's like, if you want to call me this today, that's what I am. I am whatever you want me to be.
I'm Batman. I'm whatever you need me to be.
Yeah.
Drea 93, she's always tuned in.
Shout out to Drea.
She says that she refers to herself as Mexican vanilla. That's funny.
So cool. I was in Park City, Utah, like where Sundance used to be, because it's coming to Boulder.
Yeah, what's up? Yeah.
I kind of got a sense things were going to go a little weird because, like, before I got there, I did a radio interview and I talked about Chicanos.
Oh.
And the radio interviewer said, What? I haven't heard that term in like 35 years. I'm from San Diego or something like that. I was like, oh, okay. And then I was like a little blip, I moved on. And then I go to do the event and I'm in like an auditorium with all these wealthy white people. And then I gave this whole moving speech about my ancestors and my books. And then I said, okay, any questions? And like the very first hand goes up and they say, what is a Chicano? And I was like, dang. I was like, I should have read the room. They have no idea what I'm talking about.
Read the room.
Yeah.
Well, no, I mean, that we have to,
but
like, what do they call
everything, though. Our people, we really are everything.
Yeah.
We are mixed with black. We are mixed with Chinese, Spanish. I'm sorry, whatever you want to call it. We are everything. One time I dressed up as a Hawaiian hula girl for Halloween, went to high school. This is in 11th grade. And they're like, oh, you're Hawaiian. Costume.
It doesn't help that you look like Moana anyway.
We went on the Family Feud show. Our family was on the Family Feud.
Oh yeah, look this up.
And a lot of people on the internet were like, yo, those are our island brothers. They were saying
I love that.
And then our last name is Gallegos, which is like the Smith of Filipinos.
Yeah.
So we go to Las Vegas and we start meeting Filipinos and they're like, you're not Filipina? And I'm like, no. And they're like, oh, yes, you are. Vanessa Gallegos? Yeah, you are. And I'm like, no, I promise.
Yeah, people.
Well, we
I
love
used to work
Filipinos.
at Bank of America, and like people thought like I was lying to them. Like one
Really?
lady got mad at me. She's like, "You don't want to be Filipino." I'm like, "I'm not."
I love it. I love the food.
She even said about my slanty eyes and everything. I'm like, oh
I
my
always get like Middle Eastern or Italian.
Those light eyes.
Yeah.
But Awe would say too,
Right.
our Awe, that's our grandmother, rest in peace. She would say, oh, we do have Italians in our family, which we do. We do have Italians in our family.
Well, a little tidbit. So supposedly, which I think, I don't know, green chili originated from Italians, like in the Pueblo or in, like, because we had a gentleman from Vinny, oh man, I can't remember their.
In Marie's.
Vinny and Marie's food truck, and he has a story. They did a whole story on the westward of like it was an Italian family that like started growing green chili like way back, and so
Me and her are gonna research this.
Yeah.
I don't know, man. I don't know. I'm gonna research this with
maybe Pueblo chilies
with college.
yeah, maybe Pueblo chili. Yeah. No, I had to bring that up. That was
No,
cool.
I'm not knocking the story, but I am gonna research this.
Maybe that's my Italian side coming in. No, I'm kidding.
Their food is really good though. You should try it.
I have a message from 44 Nando. He wanted to tell her I said hello for me, and you're such an inspiration.
Oh, thank you, 44 Nando. Thank you.
So, you know, you are an inspiration, and
You
we're
are an influencer.
Yes, you're a true influencer.
No, true.
Yeah.
You are an influencer because you're influencing people to say, you know what? I'm gonna pick up a book.
Yeah.
I'm gonna read this. This is a story about us. I'm gonna read it. Hey, maybe I should start journaling. Maybe books spark the minds of the people of the
Definitely.
revolution of the next coming, and it's amazing.
And I think what builds somebody's legacy, or just, I think we're all put on this earth to make impact. And I think it's all about the impact that you make, whether it's a positive or a negative impact. We're all going to leave impact on someone, maybe on more, some people on more, but you may leave impact on the person that's going to change it all, or change things, or have more impact on more. We all leave impact. And what you've done and what you're doing, you're leaving impact through your stories, through your work, and it's just amazing.
And this is just the beginning.
Yeah.
I mean, I know you've been working on it for 10 years. I know. But this is how the trajectory of it works. It is happening. It has happened to you. And I'm excited to see what happens next.
Yeah. So what do you have planned for the future?
So I just sold 2 books. So like in the publishing world, you can sell them before they're done. Yeah. So I just sold
That's
2
that
books.
advance money.
Yeah. So I'm almost done with the next one, which is going to be set in 2045. And there's been another civil war in the United States.
Oh, shit.
My character, she's very mixed. She's like me. And she comes from our background, but like she's even further removed from like the ancestors. So she's a really interesting character to work with. She's like an angry weed smoking goth Chicana in the future. So.
That sounds like this chick I was dating the other week.
Denver Foos.
Yeah, I needed a break from the family stories because they are, there's a lot of trauma that you uncover in your family, but there's also there's the judgment from people who don't know your family.
Mm-hmm.
And so that's, I also had to take on like that. Like I remember when I first published Woman of Light, one of the very first Goodreads reviews said that my character Luce was a slut. And I was like, that's my great-grandma. Like, what? So
Don't read the reviews. We will.
Yeah,
all right.
that's why I thought you were gonna tell me bad stuff today.
No,
I was like, oh my god,
no,
I came
it's
on
all
here.
good.
So that the next novel will be a family novel, and like you were saying, you're also really interested in this time period. I'm interested in the post World War II to the like late 90s.
Yeah.
Because that's when my family started going to college. They started getting educated. They started to like rise into the middle class.
Yes.
Some fell back down, but most of us were able to get there. So I'm really interested. Like, I think a lot of forced assimilation was happening in that time period.
Oh, yeah.
I think a lot of, that's when we lost our languages.
You don't speak Spanish.
Yeah, I don't speak Spanish. And like people are always like, why don't you learn? And I'm like, I'm writing these books. I'm like not a good student. But I think I'm really interested in that time period.
Yes.
And so that will be the next one. And like I don't have another one after that, but I'm like, that's two. 2 are in the canon. Like they're coming out. So I'll be ready.
No,
to
like
go
I
for
said,
that
you
one.
have such an untapped, we have such an untapped, unseen, unheard stories here that I was over here. I was like, oh, I have so many ideas. I just want to tell her. And I was like, I don't want to mess that up her mind with her ideas. And then I'm like, I'm just going to tell her anyway, because I just got to get it out, because it's just, if we don't have, we have all these ideas, but we have to do something.
Yeah,
with it.
you have to
wrote a
act
book.
on them like she
you
said.
have it.
We have
You're
more
doing it.
voices. The
we
more
have
voices
it.
we need.
This is a
need-
call to arms. Everybody out there, write your stories. Get them down. Make another Denver Foos. We need everybody to be seen.
Yeah, we need more. I need more people doing what I'm doing. Seriously. And likewise, I'm sure you feel the same way too, because everyone has different stories.
Yeah,
like
definitely.
everyone's perspectives and everyone's creative approach is different, and we need all these different creative approaches to just make our world better, not just only for our people, but for our world, like we just need more
we've
people
been
putting
fed
it.
New York Latinos, Chicanos, whatever, probably not Chicanos. We've been
Coño.
fed Los Angeles, the whole cholo culture. I'm not a shout out to it. It's beautiful. It's similar. It's taken. They take it. That's not my experience.
Yeah.
I didn't have conchas growing up.
I had biscochitos.
I've had biscochitos, which she wrote about in her book.
Yeah.
Which she put in her book because that's the type of
Piñons.
representation that we
I've had
need.
piñons.
Yeah. So
I'm not knocking
Hold
that
on.
culture. It's
No,
just
no.
this is a whole different scope, and
That's what I
she's
said
tapping
on my.
into it.
What's up?
Nothing. I just wanted to shout out our sponsor again.
Go ahead.
La Fiesta Mexican Restaurant located at 2340 Champa Street. But we also have to shout out Mile High Laughs. We have a monthly comedy show. We want to invite you as well, Colin.
As a VIP guest.
You can sit right next to
You and
me
your
because I'm
husband.
going to for the first time. Please.
Go.
Yeah.
I need to get out. you
Yeah.
know?
Our next one is coming up May 3rd, so
Okay.
next Saturday. If you and your husband can make it out, we'd love to
Yeah.
have you. But we have that every month, every first Saturday. It's gonna be so.
And we get
Mile High Laughs.
international headlining comedians, and a lot of them are local guys, but they're guys that travel all
They're
around.
professionals.
They're all
This isn't like
professional.
an open micer.
Yeah.
This is a real show.
Yeah,
man.
This isn't amateur hour. No, these guys are all very talented. We're about to go do a skit with them, one of them today.
Oh,
Yeah.
So we got a lot
work
of things.
never
up to-
stops.
No, it does
No,
not.
no.
It does not. And then we also have a draft party for the NFL draft because you know how big the Broncos are culturally.
Yeah, like on gravestones.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah.
Well,
It'll probably be on our grave.
you dressed up today, and we said, okay, we should have dressed up. We should have
Well,
worn
I
our
was-
Broncos jerseys, right?
Yeah.
Yeah,
You
I
see
was
them
at
at
luncheon.
weddings. You see them at places. Everybody wants to wear their Sunday best. It's their Broncos jersey, fool.
Yeah, I mean, how many quinceañeras and weddings? There's always that one family member wearing the Bronco jersey.
You
that-
guys have this thing, like in my family, there's like passed down season tickets.
Yeah,
that,
we
like,
have those.
Yeah. So I have this one uncle, I could be like, can I go to a Broncos game? And I have to buy them from him, but they came from my godmother.
Oh,
So I'm like,
oh my God, I love this. Oh my God, oh my God, that's so funny and amazing, and
Sorry,
it's
she got
so
me.
real because I hear these stories. We're so spoiled. We're the spoiled ones in the family where my dad got the
Do
tickets.
you have them?
Yeah.
We have them. Me and him have them. So
Okay.
we'll send you and your husband to a game. I
yeah.
promise you.
For sure.
They're great
I
stuff.
promise
Oh,
you.
wow.
I
Nice.
And but I hear these stories. Oh, those are actually my tickets because my grandma passed them down, but they gave. Yeah. No, there's the beefs in the families for tickets.
Really?
It's
Fudge.
I don't want to say nobody's names because, but
You'll
that
see
topic
it in a book soon.
we're gonna
I feel like they're usually really good seats because aren't they from like so long ago or
yes
something?
yeah.
Our
My
parents
dad-
got tickets in the middle 80s, but they
Yeah.
were fifth level.
Oh, wow.
So then over the years,
They got better.
got better.
Okay.
My mom found a ad in the Rocky Mountain News, maybe like 30 years ago now, and said full rights, 2 tickets.
Yeah.
She was on it, got it. We've had those in the family
My
this
dad
whole
traded
time.
a car for it.
Really?
Now they moved
Really?
stadiums, so they were 21 rows up in the old stadium. So they were like
Okay.
what part of like in the middle of the big section.
Yeah.
They cut the section,
There's no
and we're
20.
right in front of
Oh
a
my
walkway.
God.
So there's a bar right in front of us. It's so cool.
That's
Sorry,
nice.
it's a great story.
So Denver plays a major role in your storytelling, and so how do you feel people outside of Colorado view Denver through your books, or how do you want them to view Denver or Colorado or just even
Okay.
just our culture? I know that's kind of a
No, I think it's really exciting. So I'm in this like weird situation where I'm like living back in the north side, but if I tell people I live in North Denver, they ask if I mean Thornton or North. so now I'm like having to say Highlands. Like I'm actually having to say it because it's like read the
you have
room.
to switch up to
Yeah,
where
I
you
have to
say.
code
Depends on who
switch.
you.
Yeah.
Yeah, you have to
Yeah.
code switch, which we all do.
Yeah.
Depending on who you're talking to, you're like,
But like even these people in my neighborhood who never speak to us, never say hi, they just like walk past us. They don't know anything about Denver. So it's like it's also like if I could just get one of them to read the book, I'd be like, you could learn about this place that you're living in.
yeah.
So that's always weird to me too to think about all the transplants who don't like I don't know what they think about this place. Like I don't spend a lot of time thinking about them. I'm sorry if you're I don't spend very much time like engaging with their thought process. But one of the things that's like most exciting to me about the fact that my books are translated is that like there could be a reader in Japan And the very first time that they've ever encountered Denver through any kind of storytelling is through like Sabrina and Karina or Woman of Light. And so like imagine like for them it's always going to be like framed by like these Chicanas. Like that
So awesome.
is so cool to me.
So powerful.
Yeah.
You're
That's
setting
amazing.
the narrative.
Yeah.
You're opening people's eyes.
Yes. Yes, brother. We're back. We're back, guys.
Okay.
We're back. We're in business.
I'm not really into astrology, but I read that no sign is safe this week. Like it came for us.
Right. Can you see us? Okay. Oh man, I'm sorry for the technical difficulties, folks. As we said, this is a family program.
Live.
We're not. You know, I don't know. God and the ancestors just bless us to have amazing guests like yourself. And I mean, bosses talk to bosses. We just talked and we set this up. We don't have no budget or nothing. we're just doing the damn thing, and that, I mean, I hope that could be an inspiration, as you are an inspiration to us, to just take action and follow your dreams, follow whatever goals that you have in mind to set, and do that. What advice could you give to young writers or people that want to be a writer, even old? Some people, it's never too late.
It's definitely like writing is not something that you could just do when you're young. You actually, like, a lot of people do it as like a second career or something. Like they were a doctor. I'm still being a doctor. We need doctors.
Yeah.
My advice would just be like, start finding out what inspires you. Like, so when my godmother, she passed away a couple years ago. Her name was Joanna Lucero, and she was like a huge inspiration in my life. Huge fan of me. Like, no one can love you as much as your like lesbian godmother. Like in her 80s, she just loved me so much, and she convinced all her cancer doctors and nurses to be like a fan of me too. But she said the one thing, and this is the woman who, like, she didn't go to college, like she was very brilliant, she worked as an electrician, and she said something that like no critic or anybody's ever said to me that I like made as much sense. But she said the reason you are successful is because you take the stories, all the stories you hear, and you know what to do with them. Like, you organize them into a book that people can read. And like, she got it. Like, she understood. She's like, I can tell her a story about her ancestors, and she'll like weave it into something that like appeals to different families, different groups of people. And like, that's what I did that was like really unique, she thought.
Yeah.
And so if you come from a family that's got a lot of stories, like, you don't have to verbatim write them down. Like, maybe if that's what you want to do, but if you want, you can change them a little bit. You can make them more universal, or you can make them less universal, or you can also protect your family a little bit. Like, there's things about my life, like, I'm very open. People meet me, they think they know me, but there's stuff, there's some dark secrets in this family, like, that I don't share because I respect their wishes. They don't want some of this stuff out.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah, as a creative, that, I mean, we have a comic. Yeah. That there are those fine lines, even for comedians, you know, when they're talking about their family, or musicians, when you're putting stories into your music, and it's a fine line, and then people feel like they know you. Yeah, it's funny. Not funny, but it's a crazy line to go off. What were we saying before we got the interruption? You guys remember? Sorry.
I would like to talk about something that you have coming up on Wednesday, June 18th.
Yeah.
That is a live online session. It says from ancestral stories to fictional worlds with Colin Fajardo-Anstine.
Wow, you said my name right. That's why I was like, I know I'm getting more famous because I can say my name right. No, yeah, so I'm the 2025 literary ambassador for Grub Street, which is a literary center in Boston, which I'm really excited. I've never been to Boston, but I know they got, like, from movies, they got like those white people that are ethnic, you know, like, so I was like, I'm excited to go out to these Irish people place in Boston. But yeah, so they're bringing me to do an event in May, but then I also am doing a class that I'm teaching where I'm going to talk about family stories. So I'm going to talk about, like, how do you research your family? How do you collect them? And then how do we organize them? So that class, I think it's like $35 if you're not a member of Grub Street, and you can sign up. I don't know if it's capped, but I just posted it today, so I know some people started signing up. So if you want to get in on that class, I have not been teaching any classes or anything because I'm finishing this new novel. So this is like I'm not gonna say like a rare opportunity, but I have not been out like teaching for a long time. So I would love to see my readers in this online session. And I always remember everybody, like, even if it's like their screen name, like, I always remember how they contributed to the class and things like that. So I'm excited about that. And then I don't really have very much else going on. I just gotta get this book in, and then I'll have a whole new book to tour. And I hope you guys are coming back on.
Oh, definitely. Our platform is open anytime.
Oh, cool. Thank
for
you.
anything you want at any time. Even if you want us to just post something.
Yeah.
Raise more awareness of whatever you got going on.
Well, the same here, because it's just been such an honor to connect with you guys. And when I came in, you were telling me about your families, and it just makes me. I always tell my readers that, like, come to my signing table, and they're like, "Oh my God, your story's my story. My grandma's like your grandma," and then I tell them, you make me feel less alone. Like, There were times in my life where I was so depressed and I was so sad and I felt like nobody understood me. Just not even culturally, just like me as a person. And so anytime I meet people, like-minded people, people from a similar culture, it feels like I'm completing like this healing process. So thank you guys so much.
Yes.
Production notes. Well, I just wanted to. This is for Grandpa. This is my award-winning author. This is my daughter Esther. She is a 3 out of 4 years winner of the PBS Las Vegas PBS Janice Allen Writers Contest. So she's here. I wanted to say hi because this is what we're doing. We're bridging the gap, showing people that you can do it. And my daughter's an avid reader. She taught herself to read probably about 9 months. I'm not good. So awesome. But like I said, books. This is something I can pass on to her, and she could read it and say, "Hey, my mom loved this book. Here, I want my kids to read it. Here, your grandma loved this book." I think I think that's what we're building here. We're building a legacy. So thank you very much.
Well, and it's an honor to meet you, Esther, because someday I'm going to pass your books on, and I'm going to tell people, I love this book by Esther. So I'm really excited for your future books. You're welcome.
Like a true writer, she doesn't really like the spotlight. I have to teach her about marketing, labor, yourself.
That's great. Well, I think that's going to do it here for the Denver Foos podcast. We thank you so much for coming on. We appreciate you. Where could they find you? Socials, websites?
I'm only on Instagram these days because I'm trying to finish this book, and it's Kali Majak. So just look up my name on there. And then you can buy my books allegedly anywhere books are sold. And if you go to a bookstore and they don't have it, request it. Tell them to order it. And try to if you want to support local independent bookstores, that's always the best because everybody gets paid that way instead of like the giant billionaires. But it is also on the giant.
Right on. Well, thank you, Denver Foods, for tuning in.
Thank you.
Tune in tomorrow. We have another great show. Great people, different perspectives. All the time here on the Denver Foos podcast. Y'all have a good day.
Yay!